Hey everyone, welcome to our discussion on information management. I'm Anna Kelyan. For those who don't know me, I'm also called Anna K. My friends refer to me as Anna K. I'm an enabler with over 2 decades of experience in teaching, training, and coaching. And my passion in life is designing a life with no regrets and helping others do the same. And today, my guest is Tim Hurt. Tim's background is a fascinating blend of engineering, entrepreneurship, and a deep dive into productivity. And he's all about breaking down limiting beliefs and optimizing the way we handle information. Welcome, Tim, to the
Thank
Lifebook
you.
community.
Thank you very much. Second time this time.
Yes, you're most welcome. I'm always glad to bring you back. So today we're talking about information management or knowledge management. Different people call it differently. And my first question to you is about this information overload that we have. Like within the Lifebook community, we have so much content. Some people here are from Mind Valley. We have a lot of content. The internet is full of information, right? So there's this kind of overwhelm of information. And could you walk us through your approach to handling the abundance of this information that bombards us daily?
Yeah, that's a big one. Like nowadays, information is free. In the past, we had the tendency to sell information as valuable, but now the true value is integrating that information into your goals. What do you want to achieve with that piece of information? So how I deal with information overwhelm in general is like really being critical on what kind of information that you let into your system, like really to slow down, to speed up, because a lot of us are addicted to that doing more and capturing more and searching for that next golden egg or that next quest or that next challenge or something else. And the challenge is to kind of slow down and really only pick the information that will really benefit your goal. That's basically the underlying premise.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying less is more, but also how much less is more. Like one of the things I've realized is sometimes you don't want to write, like when you're consuming information, you don't want to write everything the person is saying in the video or everything. You don't want to copy the entire book, right? When you're writing notes. But if you also write too little, then you're going to go, oh, wow, I don't know what I wrote. Like, what is this word? What it's meant to mean, you know? So how
Yeah.
do you kind of also let's start with this concept of taking in information and then writing insights. So what is the difference between that information that we're consuming and those insights we have when we're consuming that information?
Yeah. Yeah. I do filter those two out, like you said, as in the information management, a different comparison to the insight management. Um, like what I define as information is piece of knowledge, piece of data, that is an external factor. For example, this could be an address that you have, like a phone number, but also a summary of a quest. That is outside information that you find beneficial for your purpose, for your goal. Running the marathon or being able to do the Silva method or any of those other things. That's information. And an insight is something so mind shifting in your perspective of reality. That's a belief system underneath. So that's an insight that kind of like changes everything. Sometimes we feel that moment of, is that the way that the world works? Or my understanding of it at this moment. So separating those two, a lot of it is information management and barely anything is insight management. But there is a difference between those two. And maybe perhaps like based on that one as well, it's the everyone who's already here and already listening to have like a paper sheet in front of them and then creating two different columns based on that. One of them is capture and the other one is create. And for that, this is fully a Jim Quick method, by the way. So all the credits to him.
Yeah.
So based on that, if you have a certain captured piece of knowledge that I've just shared in this interaction or something that you said, Anna, write it down in your capture. Only capture, so only receive information from that person. And then on the column on the right side, the second column, you write your creations. So these are the insights that you're kind of having, as in, where can I use this piece of information for? What will I use with that? How does that combine with my understanding of the world? So making that shift will really benefit yourself for reviewing your own notes, as in, I've captured all of this data, and these are the insights that I had. If you combine them within one note-taking device, then everything kind of gets mushed together quite often.
Wow, this is powerful. Yeah. So to recap what Tim said, and if you have, I told you to bring note paper and pen or any tool you use. I'm sure Michael immediately created a table in Notion. He's already using a template. See? Obviously, I didn't even need to say. He wrote in the comments. So whatever works for you. So basically, what Tim is saying, when you're consuming the information, if you're going to write a quote exactly as is, or whatever Tim said or I said, or anyone put in the comments, you want to capture that. That goes under the capture column, which means it's not your information. And this is really helpful also for those of you who are content creators, because as Tim mentioned, this technique is not something he created, it's from Jim Quick. So when you put anything under capture, you know that this is not your creation. And I remember I used to have a lot of insights, and I at some point failed to differentiate between them. And I would read them. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Did I write it or did I copy it from somewhere else? I wouldn't remember. So if you do it this way, you also know that the insights are coming from you, and the capture is you've captured it from somewhere else. And obviously, it would be best if you have like a title saying these are captured from this book or from this course or from this interview, so you know who said them as well, to give them credit in case you want to mention them.
And there's little kind of extra nuance, something that I've often heard about in presentations and situations where I'm in. Quite often we listen to a presentation and then we think, I agree with this part of the presentation, or I don't agree with this part of the presentation. At that moment, with that idea of capture and create, you only capture the information based on what the presenter is telling you. So you don't add any value of you agree or you don't agree just yet. You're listening for the insights based on how that presenter is currently experiencing his reality. Because a lot of us are not actually trying to search for truth, for facts, but we're trying to search for our belief system, to deepen our belief system. So listening to those belief systems will really benefit your information management. Because we're not really finding information, but we're looking for insights.
Yeah, I get it. Wow, this is interesting. So basically, if you're not conscious, you are looking for those confirmation biases. Like you're looking for the confirmation. And if someone says something that you don't agree with, maybe you don't even write it down in the capture, or maybe you don't even hear it. It just like whoosh goes like that. But if you are, and this is Intellectual Monday in the Lifebook community, so I want to encourage people to, if you want to broaden your horizons and not be, have that confirmation bias, in that case, just capture everything and then try to understand it from the speaker's perspective, and maybe you can gain more and like more what's the word I'm looking for here? Point of views, right? You have different points of views, and then you can have a broader outlook on life, right? So basically, Tim, what you're saying is if you and I read the exact same book, right? We decide to read a book. We're not going to get the same insights from this book, right?
Yeah, correct.
So what is going to impact? Why is it going to be, your insights will be different than mine?
Yeah, and then what's your question then in that case?
Sorry. Yeah, so I'm asking, like, why would my insights be different than your insights? Like, is it beliefs? Is it like what is it that's like, why do I understand the book differently than you?
That's a very interesting one. Like most of the time, the world is not really based on the facts, but what we believe the facts to be true. So everyone has a different layer of belief system. And when I'm reading something specifically, then I connect that based on what my belief system is. So that creates different insights in that specific book. Sorry, there's a little bit of noise here, so I'm a little bit distracted.
Yeah, we don't hear the noise. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit the difference why people experience a book in a different way, because we're not actually listening to the information. As an engineer, I thought that the world was made out of like logic, but it isn't. It's that emotional layer, and it's that understanding of belief systems beneath that. So I actively, when I'm having conversations with people, I listen to that belief system that's underneath all of the motivation, and I listen to that one. I don't even try to argue anymore. I did that in the past, but I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. So it is interesting because I believe a lot of people believe that they are looking for truth and facts. And this is where my next question comes from, is a lot of people ask, how do I know that this is the correct information? There's so much information out there. There are so many people talking about the same topic, or there are so many books on this. How can I know I'm choosing the right book, the right information? But now that you're saying, like, maybe you're actually not looking for the information, like the truth, but you're looking for something specific, right? So do you think there is correct information? Should we look for a correct information, or what would be your approach to that topic?
Well, that reminds me to something that Neil Donald Walsh says, as in there's not a right or wrong, but it's doing the stuff that works. So if you're searching for information, then it's like, okay, what do you want to achieve with this piece of information? Will that help me achieve my goal? Could be anything. So the piece of information isn't that right or wrong, but it's more, will that help me with my end goal? And there is no correct information. Well, no, I don't think there perhaps is effective information, as in this piece of information will effectively help me towards my end goal, but not really true information.
Yeah, like you shouldn't chase, like, or for example, read every single book on a specific topic looking for a truth. Your question should be, is this information enough for me to make the next move, or why am I looking for this information in the first place, right? Like, what's the purpose of it? Yeah,
and what I often do, because I do help people with productivity and stuff like that, but I notice I don't really read any productivity books anymore, because I don't feel that gap anymore. And in the past, I felt that gap. So then that piece of information was effective for me to fill that gap to achieve my goals. And now I have other piece of information that I'm lacking, or goals that I want to achieve. So I need a different piece of information. So really filtering the information on what do you want to achieve with that goal, or with that information towards your goal.
So would you say that why did you decide that you had enough information about productivity and you're done with productivity books and courses, at least for now, because that's what we want to teach people, because we think it's never enough. We're chasing the next course, we're chasing the next book. Like, when do you decide it's enough?
Yeah. For me personally, it's a very, like I tune into myself, as in now we are here in that Mind Valley Lifebook community, so we can speak a little bit more open. Like I tune into the emotional response. Is this thing making me feel better or worse? Is this helping me, or is this creating friction or drag? Like, I can teach you how to manage your calendar fully, like organized, that you don't feel that overwhelmed of time being busy, basically. But if you're not experiencing that state, then my piece of value isn't worth anything for you.
Yeah.
So, and that's just basically just data analytics, as in creating the correct package for the correct person who actually needs it at that moment. I don't know if that fully gives answer to your question, but
yeah. So I'm trying to get my insights right from the information you're sharing right now, because it ties, like, there are many pieces of what you're saying that tie together for me here. It's like, okay, you are saying that when there is no gap, like when you feel like you already know enough, like it's enough, right? You're not chasing that additional information because you feel like you can take the next step without getting more information. Now you feel confident in your productivity skills, let's say. But then when you're sharing this, and we'll talk about also why insights aren't just helpful for you, you should also share them like we're doing today. When you're sharing them, it's about how open the other person is and in what state they are in to actually get value from those your insights that you're sharing, which have now become information for that person, right? So you got the information, you created your insights, you shared its insights as information to other people. Now they have to get their own insights. And yes. I think I'm summarizing the entire talk here now. Yeah. In an insightful, like, I'm going on this insight river. And then basically what's happening, the person in front of you is taking the information and creating their own insights based on their beliefs and their current state of being. So if in their emotional being, a state, and so on. So I'm getting that if I want to read a book and get the maximum out of it, I need to be in the right state of being to get the most out of it. Or else I might be reading blah, 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 blah. I finish the book, I'm like, no insights at all, because I was, I don't know, not present, maybe not emotionally there. And if I read the same book like months later, I will get different insights. Is that like what you're saying? Kind of.
Yeah, you made a massive, beautiful summary. And at the end, you said something that I kind of wanted to point.
Okay.
Like, there is not getting something out of a book. There's not that's being from that state of lack. It's just like, in what level can I grow after reading this book? As in, what kind of intention do you set forth while reading that book? If it's I don't know, like just the example just now, as in organizing my calendar, as in, okay, because currently I have some trouble with my calendar organization. I'm going to read this book to be organized in my calendar. Okay, then that piece of information is effective for your end goal. So, and a lot of us are reading information that we really shouldn't read. There's so much noise in the world. And the challenge is, like, and I understand why that happens, because that's the way that we have been taught in this culture.
Yeah.
Like, in the old days, we have, in the old days, the teacher gave us certain information, and then we needed to study that and then prove to the teacher that we actually mastered that piece of information.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's not actually how the reality works or how it should work. Because everyone is growing on their own level. Everyone has their own pieces that they find valuable. That's why I also really like the Lifebook community, as in it's a framework, but you decide what the framework is, what you find important.
Yeah. Wow.
I did see a question come up, but I didn't really read it.
Yeah, I'm seeing the questions too, because I'm focused on with you. I'm not reading. Sorry, I will get to the questions later, but
yeah, would
I
be
really
fun
want to
as well.
focus because I'm getting a lot of insights, and I want to ask the right next question right here, or
Yes.
even at least summarize some of what Tim is saying here. It's really, really interesting how I guess, as you said, it comes from sense of lack. If we are chasing that next book or next course, so. But also, I feel like with the calendar example that you gave, let's say if I attend one of your courses and learn how to organize my calendar, then afterwards, I think we're impatient too. This new generation, like we're impatient. We don't try it and iterate and fix it. We're like, oh, it's not working. 1 week later, it's not working, and we chase something else. Maybe that also, I think, comes from a lack mentality. Or it's like, oh, Tim's course wasn't enough. Maybe I need another one. Well, the fact is, maybe we need to practice and customize it a bit with more for our needs, right? Because there's no one system that fits everyone. So I guess one of the things I think I want, and hopefully let's see what you would say, Tim, as well. But I think what I want people to get out of this call is it's not about the information, right? That's what we're saying. It's about why you need it. It's your intention. First, do you actually need it? And why do you need it? And what is it that you need? Actually, what is it that you need? Is it just like something simple, or is it like an entire new system? So there's a huge difference in that as well. And also the willingness to experiment with it. And I think one of the things we actually talk about this a lot in Intellectual Month is how much we are afraid of our own thoughts. We don't want to sit and think ourselves. We're like, oh, let me actually read something or go to someone else instead of thinking on my own. And how much we also trust our insights. But if you look back at your life, we've already accumulated so much information. We've consumed so much, whether we've done it consciously or unconsciously. And I think if we sit down with a few questions, we can come up with a lot of insight as well. And if we can just trust ourselves a little bit, maybe we can make these things work without too much consuming information, new information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you agree with that?
It's a lovely way to look at it. It's like really slowing down really helps. Because like I've been relatively introverted myself in the past, and I didn't really spoke with a lot of people. But I really filtered down my communication with others to really kind of like dive a little bit deeper into myself, and then exploring what kind of wisdom that I already have inside of me. And a lot of wisdom is coming from that own experience of what is it that I'm actually feeling? Well, I feel I don't have a goal, for example. Okay, great. Then like you're not searching for the 3M IQ as a solution, but you first need to tune into yourself, as in what am I actually experiencing myself? And then you can start searching for that information that will help you in your path. But a lot of us are so addicted to that golden egg, that information coming in, that we forget that first step of Yeah, but what's the mindfulness beneath that? Because nowadays I say that with the people, like productivity really made me mindfulness in my being, also with my health, the way that I deal with other people. Like I've never thought like they skilled me in the past, as in, Tim, don't start reading, don't do anything, just like build bricks in construction sites, because that's basically my past as an electrical mechanic. So yeah, slow down to speed up, basically really tune into your own goals first, and then choose, okay, what piece of information do we actually need for this? And based on your story, what you just said, after you read something and then you have insights upon that, share those insights. Because those insights are so valuable for those people around you. You're not duplicating the information, but you're reaffirming your own insights. And other people will resonate with that.
Wow. So it's interesting. So if I learn something, right? Like we have a lot of people here in the community that are coaches, that are like have studied similar professions, but each one has something unique to present. Maybe we all learn from the same teachers, right? We all read productivity books, Tim Allen. We've all taken maybe Jim Quick courses, but each one of us, if we want to teach that, we're not, I would say, you're not Tim Allen's student. You're not teaching exactly as he is teaching. You added your own insights. You added your own into it. So it's like, it's Tim's way, right? But you're also, when you're teaching, the person that's learning is learning with their own insights, from your course. So we're adding a little more, and it's becoming our own. And this is what we encourage in the Lifebook community. It's not like, hey, everyone has the same goals for health and fitness. Everyone has, we each have a unique perspective. Even if we're taking the same course, each one is applying it differently. Each one is sharing it differently, because it comes from, it's kind of this, your past also, right? So when I'm consuming this information, I have similar information from my past, similar information from my experiences, and the insights are born from all of that. And it's totally something different than I'm fitting it also in my current life with my change in the future as well. So it's an ever growing kind of thing.
And I'm relatively big in the second brain methodology. So writing down your thoughts, writing down your actions, writing down your information, fully in Notion. Also with the template of Michael, we're starting to do that right now. So that's quite fun. But I'm in the past, and I believe that many of us have that, is that I felt ashamed for the insights that I've had. As in, if I read something in a book, then I'm like, yeah, I know I kind of should do that, but I kind of prefer my old way of living, because then I'm a little bit shameful to admit that I've never done it correctly. And that shame is kind of withholding you from growth. Because like every new insight is kind of painful. Or at least that's how I experience it. Like, this is kind of the way that it works.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, this is powerful. Now let me try to understand it. What you're saying is you are afraid of getting insights from the information, or processing new information, sometimes, not like, obviously not always, when you feel like, how maybe there's this thought in your brain that's going like, how come I didn't know about this all my life? I'm ashamed of the way I used to do this. But if I admit it, if I process it, it's like the thought starts in your brain and you want to stop it, because the moment you think, the moment I process it, I'm going to feel shame. I'm going to feel that I've done things wrong. And no, I'm going to stick with what I know. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear it. So that's kind of where you're closing yourself off for new information. That also confirms, like, goes with the confirmation bias somehow, which keeps you also in your old way of doing things.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
And what I notice sometimes when I'm like when I'm teaching myself and like speed reading and all of this productivity stuff and my calendar stuff, sometimes I feel like that I want to share this to everyone. And it's kind of painful when you hear feedback as in, of course, I know this. Like the feedback of someone else that already learned this part is kind of painful, because then you're kind of admitting of like not mastering that part of yourself just yet. Like first being the joker, like the funny man joker, right? First being the joker before you can actually master something. But that first needs to start with, I'm kind of bad with my finance. Like I'm bad with my finance. Like I'm productivity and all of that and data analytics, but I'm very bad with my finance. So that is like painful to admit for someone, or to someone who is very rich or very skilled with sales or something like that. So most of the time that fear is withholding us from growth.
Yeah, I guess it's more of a fear of admitting, right? Like, because you feel like you're going to look like a failure, or well, the fact is, the moment you actually express that, it's like, hey, I am actually not good with finances. If you can help me, I can learn and grow. And I would not say this sentence ever again, but we keep repeating it to ourselves and we're afraid of saying it. Yeah. Wow.
That
Okay.
happens so often. I will turn on the light for a second because it's getting way
dark.
too dark. Let me see.
I'm going to check some of the questions that are coming in as well. We'll get to the questions in a bit. I also only have like a couple of more questions, and then we'll take the questions in the chat, and then we'll do the exercise. See if Tim wants to do more exercises. So we spoke about information and insights, and how would you say we can differentiate between passive consumption, like when you're on social media, you're consuming too much content passively without realizing, right? Like, and I ask this question to people who keep scrolling. I'm like, how can you scroll and read so much or watch so much? If I open Instagram right now, the first post I read it and I feel like I want to stop, process it, get insights from it, think of like what it means to me, challenge it. I challenge everything I read. I'm like, first thought, I read a quote, wow, amazing, really good. But is it really true? Does it apply to all the, all these questions come up because I want to get insights and I want to really understand it. So I'm curious how people just scroll past it. And that's where I think the overwhelm comes from, because you're bombarding yourself with all this information. And in many cases, we're saying, yeah, great, like, we're not even processing it. We're just repeating it, and it becomes kind of a mantra for us. Versus how often should we consume in that sense of like random information, not through a focused course or a book, versus actually sitting and having those insights, asking those questions, and creating our own kind of insights, library or something like that.
Yeah, we spoke a little bit, like we discussed that a while back, that we mentioned the 80-20 difference.
Yes.
I think that kind of came up.
So that came up with the chat with me, Tim, not in this call.
Yeah, no, true. True. Yeah.
So you should mention it now.
Because it kind of is very related based on this question.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us are consuming information just passively, actively, it doesn't really matter what kind of, like if you're passively getting information that then you don't actually notice that you're being influenced. It happens quite a lot. But let's start with active information gathering. I think like 80% of your time should be creating information, creating insights. And maybe 20% is getting more information in. And I don't know if that fully comprehends your question, because there was a lot of nuggets inside of that.
So so you're saying 20% we should consume, like, so you're saying consume much less than what you produce.
Yeah, way less.
Yeah.
And whatever you, as in, read one book each month and write down all of the insights that you have, and then teach those insights to other people around you. Like, find the people that would benefit from this and then share that insight. Because everyone is kind of in the same echo chamber, like bubble. So whatever is very valuable for me, as in my path to mindfulness, will probably also be very valuable for, like, I don't know, the people who follow me online. So the main focus is you consuming information and then share insight, repackage it. The most focus is, it's not creating content, but it's creating value. And the value is your insight.
Value. Exactly. Oh, wow. This is really good. Create value, not content. Because I was going to ask this, like, I don't know how many of you have noticed. You open a social media platform, you read the quote, and then you start scrolling and you see the same quote from different people, even famous people. All of a sudden, they decide they want to post the same exact quote on the same day. And I'm like, what value are you adding? If you put it in the caption, I'm also wondering how many people read the captions. Most people just read the image. So what you're saying, Tim, is when you say 80% creation, you're not saying read one page and write a book. You're saying different ways of creation, meaning get your insights, share it in different ways, but you're sharing your own insights. Like you're giving your own kind of value, creating your own value. And the people who take it obviously are going to have different insights from that same post that you created.
Yeah. And like I do work with like content creators and or had meetings with them. And quite often they say, yeah, but like say these three things, like create a hook, create a piece of information, and create a solution. You could work like that. For many people, it does work because you're like repurposing that piece of information. But I personally don't really do that. I read something and then I create an insight based on that, and then I create content based on my insight. Because that insight is all the people that I have around me kind of know how I think. So that piece of insight, if they followed me in my journey, then they can like tune into that little extra insight as well. Otherwise, we'll just be NPCs, as in computer programmed, like stuck in the matrix. And the goal of self-actualization, or whatever that might mean, is to experience those truest, deepest levels of yourself with, like, it's not really information, but it's like tuning into the insights of other people so you have more insight yourself. So different things.
Wow. Okay. I think we're starting to run out of time. I want to just wrap up a little bit and then get some of the questions in the chat as well. So we're talking about managing information and managing insights. Last question from me is, where do I put them? Like, do I go back to that system you said, capture and create? Like, do I write them in the same place exactly as that? Or do you keep them in separately?
I personally, I have everything in Notion because that's just database driven. But it's what you could do it in paper as well, as in what's the end goal that you want to achieve? Run the marathon. Okay, to achieve that goal, what do you actually need to start doing or to know to run the marathon? Could be like how to lose weight. That's a piece of information that will help you to run the marathon later on. Or how to eat healthy, or how to do this, how to do that. That will organize yourself in that goal. So whenever you start like your workday is not processing or doing more or being more productive. It is streamlining yourself to achieve your goal quicker, easier. So then you, when you open your workday, it's like, okay, what's the goal for today or for this week? How can I achieve that? So you filter all of your information based on your goal. And then you focus on your goal and not focus on the information.
Yeah, so basically don't get distracted by consuming information and just focus on the goal and what takes you to the goal, right? Like the information, if that information. So, but where are you writing them? So like you're writing the information and the insights in Notion, right? Like in the same way.
Yeah, kinda. Like I do all of my, as in capture and create, I do that within Notion.
Yeah.
But I do have a separate system that I use to channel or to write down my belief systems. As in, what kind of belief systems do I hold to be true in this world? And that is based on Obsidian. It's also like a star map, so it's quite nice to visualize your ideas and how those ideas are connected. And with the idea of you can always go back and channel your own belief system. Because the trick thing, you're getting stuck when you perceive your belief systems to be true. And having that space as an externalized system to re-watch them and to go into them as in, is this really true? Is this still really true? Is this something, a belief system that will benefit me? Then you can challenge your own belief. So, but like there are so many different systems to write it down in. You can use Google Keep, you can use your WhatsApp.
Whatever works for the person, I guess.
Yeah, like I'm relatively skilled with the computer, relatively. But there are also people like, I don't like to watch on a screen. Great, let's grab a note. Let's go there. Because everything is method-based. And it's not really software-based.
That's another topic for another interview.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit last year, but we can dive in some other time. Yeah, but just to let others here know, when I realized we're talking about software and some people might not know, Obsidian and Notion are tools, software you can use to write notes, okay? And there are many out there. And if you are interested in learning some of these tools, Notion, Michael is your guy, or anything else, just let us know and we'll figure out who can teach you about them. But as Tim was saying, it's not about the software as much as the method. And also before the method, we go back to summarizing what we said today, is about why, the purpose, the intention of the information and where you're going to use it, and making sure that you're creating your own insights. And hopefully you're not blinded too much by your beliefs when you are created by those insights. So let me check the questions here. Okay, let's go to the top. Alan shared something about, he shared a YouTube video, so cool to check that, about time management and chronotypes and flow state. I'm curious about that now. Shamina, so do you mean that if feeling overwhelmed it is enough, or rather if you are feeling a gap in what you feel you need and have. So it is appropriate for you. So you need more info, even if you are overwhelmed. So then you need to get in the right frame of mind, emotion state, to continue receiving more info than you need. So if I understood correctly, because there's a bit too much here going on, let's see. So yeah, if you're feeling overwhelmed, first of all, it means you are swimming in a sea of information. Just step back, okay? Step back, and as Tim was saying, decide what's your intention. What is your goal? Like, why are you overwhelmed? Why is there so much information? That's when you can actually identify if you have a gap or not in your knowledge, because some of the time, because you're in that state of overwhelm and you're in that state of emotional instability, you feel like you're not enough, you don't know enough, you know, all these emotions come up, and that's
all
when you go,
that we don't want to believe.
yeah, exactly. And then you go back to buying a new book or doing something else and feeling more overwhelmed. So the state of being is the most important. So yes, always ground yourself, get out of the overwhelm, take the deep breaths, really figure out where you are, and then you can go from there. If you feel like, yes, there is actual a lack or a gap, I guess that's when you choose to consume some content to get your own insights. And you know, and when we talk about information, one thing to mention is we refer to consuming content, we say that, but information can come from people too. So if you feel like you want to talk to a million people, they can overwhelm you too with the different advice and information. So that's why I believe Tim was saying earlier, like, I don't go to people a lot. It's like, I need to sit with my own insights and kind of understand. It doesn't mean that people don't have value to share. On the contrary, you're here listening to us today, right? But it just means go back, sit alone, go back to that state of being, and then decide if someone or some book or some information can help you with your intention. Does that answer your question, Shamina? Natalie says, that's interesting. I've always assumed that nothing I do is correct. And when things work out, I was just lucky. I'm a content junkie. Well, I think Tim will say, this is your belief system. Why do you think that nothing you do is correct, right? What would you say, Tim? I can't hear you, Tim. For some reason.
Yeah, I was kind of
okay.
rereading the things.
Okay, fine.
Like, this is a very old pattern that has been educated to us in the past in the educational systems. As in, you need to be correct, and if you're not correct, either you're getting lower grade, or if you're saying something in class, then you get laughed at by your classmates. Like that fear of that negative response if you say something incorrectly. That's what's holding us from a lot of growth. And there is no correct. There is only you asking questions based on what you currently understand of this world. This could be something way different compared to how I see the world. That doesn't mean that you're not correct. This is just the fullest version of you expressing your understanding of the world. And like, you can try things also within business, within like different situations. And it doesn't mean that it's correct, even if it worked. But if it worked, then it was an effective strategy for you at this time. And then you're dropping that whole notion of right or wrong or being correct.
Yeah, great. One thing I want to mention here, because we're talking about information, yes, there are things that can be considered facts or false news. So we're not, when we say correct or incorrect, we're not referring to those. What we're talking mostly about, like strategies or the different types of, like, for example, if you're going to do diets, there is no correct diet out there. Let me tell you straight now, don't go looking for a correct diet. There is no such thing, because diets are insights, okay? And we all create different insights, as Tim was saying, and it is related to our experiences, to our belief system. So something might work for you, something might not work for, the same thing might not work for others. So that's what we're referring to correct and incorrect in this day and age, because there's so much information out there, and it's really can get confusing of like what is the right strategy kind of thing, more than what if the information is actually based on facts or not. And even facts, I would challenge, don't exist, because how often do we hear a study, it's like scientifically tested, and 10 years later they're like, we disproved that. It's incorrect now. So
Yeah. And a lot of that is in depth of the belief system of the storyline that we have been told at this moment. As in, like, I do have, like, I live a very mindful life, relatively. Like, when I'm walking in the city, that I'm like observing the reality around me, and then I have certain insights based on what kind of behavior that I'm seeing, what kind of knowledge can I grab from that. So I'm even channeling my own belief system, what I call reality.
Yeah.
So such
and Michael put it beautifully, is that it is a fact from a certain point of view in that moment. Beautifully said, Michael. We're going to make a quote out of it.
Well, what's the insight that you have based on his quote?
Right?
That's
exactly.
the most important
thing. That's the challenge. That's the challenge. But he put it so beautifully. I'm like, from a certain point of view in that moment, because that's the important thing, is the moment as well, because it's not just a point of view, it's also the timing, and also your state of being, I would add.
And then the challenge is, if this quote resonates with you, to live this quote.
Yeah.
So whenever someone speaks about a fact, then you're internally thinking about, okay, this is your point of view at this specific time.
Yeah.
And that like frees you up from all of the discussions, because then you're listening to his insights. As in, where are you currently in? Yeah.
Wow. It just reminded me of something that happened this week with me. And I was like, no, I'm not going to, we spoke about this earlier too. We're not, at some point you realize you don't judge the person or what they're saying, because if it's a correct fact or not, because you know that it's a certain point of view, certain time, certain their state of being, their emotions and all those things. Okay, we're running out of time, so let me go to the last two questions. Alan asked again, can you explain why we get overwhelmed by information overload? Wow. Tim?
Well,
what do you think?
Basically, if you have a cup and you keep filling that cup up with water, eventually it overflows. So it's kind of like, it's a logical state. But the question is, what makes you want to add more information into your own cup, into your own mind? And that's a very interesting, or that's a very personal question. For me, let's answer it for myself, is that state of gap, or me not feeling enough because I feel like that I wasn't intellectually enough. That really streamlined me into like studying quite a lot, also with my engineering background. And the question is then, what kind of gap is beneath that which makes you experience that as overwhelm?
Yes, exactly. Exactly, because even if you're in information overload, Alex in this community once said, you don't need to feel overwhelmed. The overwhelm comes from your state of being, again, because you can be in the eye of the storm and not get hit by it. So if it depends on where you are, I guess, with the information overload. So maybe it's pouring outside and you have an umbrella, you won't get wet. But if you don't have an umbrella, you might panic. I don't know. So
and a lot of the the overwhelm is us thinking too much about the past or the future. If we're just experiencing now, or just this hour, or just this minute, then less and less overwhelm is appearing. I just had some like cleaners come in during the interview. I'm not actually experiencing that as overwhelm. This is just like, okay, a little bit quiet, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like it's the emotional reaction, how you deal with certain situations that are coming around you.
Yeah. And as Michael just repeated what you said, it's about the intention too, right? If you have a clear intention, you won't feel overwhelmed. I heard this once from, I believe it was Esther Hicks in the book, Ask and You Shall Receive. They say, if you open your pantry, you have like different types of food in there, like, right? Do you feel overwhelmed if you look at it? If you haven't decided what to cook, yes, you're going to say, oh my God, I have all these things. What should I cook? But if you know what you're going to cook, you open it, you don't see the pasta, you don't see anything. You just take the rice and just close it, right? It's the same kind of approach. So have the intention first before you look. You know, I feel information is so readily available and free now, and Google is at your fingertips. So we just kind of, I need this information. We search, and I'm like, which answer should I open? We create that overwhelm ourselves. While if we had a clear intention and we write exactly the right search terms, we can find what we want. We can choose what we want. So
and a little add-on on your story, because I really like the methodology. It's like have a closet to put your information in, instead of having all of your ingredients spread over the house. Like create that gap, that safe space of all of the information is there, or your method of information coming to you. Because a lot of us are like addicted to this beautiful thing. And then tuning into, as in, no, now it's a time for no distractions or no incoming calls. So there are many layers.
Well, we're getting into more topics for more future content. I have one more question from Shamina. I believe she wants to know the content creation insight you shared about the structure of the post. I believe, is it, Shamina, are you asking about the hook and the like that structure that you mentioned? I believe that's the one. So what was it that your friend told you about creating content, the hook, and then what were the other?
The one that I mentioned was like, we don't actually say the quote again or want to summarize the book itself, but you share the insights that you have, and those are the pieces of value that you're getting. Like, how amazing would it be if you're following someone online that you highly respect and highly follow, and he has read a book like Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh, and you're seeing all of the insights from that person from that book. That's way more interesting in comparison to having a summary from that person about that book. Like the insights, that's the value. And a lot of us are starving for understanding each other, because understanding each other is understanding ourselves in a certain way.
Yeah. So do you use a specific structure like your friend suggested with the hook and stuff, or no? You said no, right? You just write whatever organically.
Like this conversation, I extract pieces of data out of this, and then I share that. So my main focus is just having one conversation, trying to do one every day. And then based on that one conversation, share the pieces of knowledge that kind of like appeared upon that. So a lot of that is on my YouTube. Because these are the insights or the flow states that I'm experiencing.
Awesome. any other questions if someone wants to like raise their hand or put in the chat? I know we're out of time, but we're still here. We're talking. Tim and I never stop talking. We're like, should we? Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I'm gonna okay, I'm gonna start wrapping up, but if you have questions, please do share. So let's see, I believe I finished all my questions. Yes, so I want to thank Tim for sharing your insights and expertise today with us. And everyone, thank you also for tuning in. Remember, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the sheer number of information around you, remember that there are strategies and techniques that we discussed today, and there are obviously more out there to how to manage them effectively. And I hope you got some insights from today's conversation. Keep the conversation in the Lifebook community. Follow me and Tim on subscribe to our YouTube channels. I will put the links now in the chat. And also you can follow Tim on all these platforms as well. And this is my YouTube. We're doing more talks in the future and interviews. We will talk also about action management and different other things. Tim actually has a course. Did you put the link to your course in?
No, not the course itself.
Yeah.
But you can reach out to me in one of the platforms.
Yes, please reach out to Tim.
26th with 100% discount, so it's a free one. To kind of
it's a free course. Please join. It's going to be fun. Really excited for this one. So reach out to Tim on one of the platforms I shared, and we can get started on this beautiful journey of information management and action management with Tim. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you again next week. I haven't posted my next event yet, so stay tuned on the Lifebook platform as well. You can follow me on the Lifebook platform to get notified, or watch out for Alex's newsletter on Sunday or Monday. See you soon. Bye.